Hey, welcome to Garage Talk. As always, I'm Conrad. Let's go.
I'm Ted. Time to rock and roll.
Hey, Teddy, today in the garage we have with us
Heath Benfield.
He likes it. He likes it. Man of the people.
Look at that.
Man of the people. How we doing, sir?
Doing great. Doing great. Glad to be in the garage.
Tell everybody a little bit about yourself, man.
Oh, God, this feels like an interview. My greatest weakness is actually my greatest strength. Mississinewa grad.
2003.
Class of 03.
Congratulations.
Ted's daughter was in my class, Brittany.
Okay.
Actually, not to get too personal, Ted, I think Brittany was my very first girlfriend in 7th grade.
Wow.
I'll tell you what, I told her this the other day when I told her you were coming on. I said, I can remember you guys went to a dance or something at the Jonesboro Community Building.
Yeah.
Said, I picked you up, and you came in, you sat down, and she said, I'm going out with Heath. And I looked at her, I'm like, where are you going?
Yeah.
We didn't call it going out, you know, when I was in school, we called it you're going together.
Yeah.
Going together? They
Yeah.
call them making out necking back then, too?
Yeah.
That was weird.
First base.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, we had some good hand-holding action. Brittany was a total sweetheart.
Yeah. Awesome lady.
Mississinewa grad. I am a filmmaker, an independent filmmaker, and that's probably why you have me here talking today, just to talk a little bit about my my media experience.
Yes.
Cut my teeth on the old Rat TV circuit.
Yeah.
I wonder if they still have Rat TV at Mississinewa
It's
High
called
School.
Tribe TV.
Tribe TV.
Tribe TV.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Classing it up a little bit more. Yeah.
I was always a fan because in high school we had the newspaper called the Smoke Signal.
Right.
I think if you have like a podcast, if you called it the Smoke Signal, I think you'd get some of the wrong crowd. Not wrong crowd.
It might be the right crowd, depending on your sponsors.
Not the demographic you want.
You're saying that the higher crowd.
Yes.
The higher class crowd. That's what. Yeah.
I was also on the Smoke Signal.
Dang.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Now, I remember very vividly my senior year, it was mostly because if you remember, I don't know how they do it now, but back then you could almost not go to school when you were a senior if you had all of your credits.
Right.
And it was yearbook, Rat TV, like 3 or 4 periods, study hall.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Nothing of substance.
Yeah, I think I had watercolors, ceramics.
Yeah.
Every class,
Ceramics.
every class, Mr. Willie offered.
Mr. Willie, yeah.
Yeah, I had several art classes my senior year.
Yeah.
It's very tough.
Right.
And while we're talking high school right now, you know, we need to congratulate Bob Elson.
Yeah.
He finally stepped away.
He did, yeah. Today I stopped by his little shindig, his retirement party.
Him and his wife are great.
Yeah,
There
Bob and
were
Lori.
There were a few teachers this year that were staples at Mississinewa, and we want to say congratulations, and you will be missed.
Yeah, 40 years Bob did it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I have a funny story about Bob Elson. I remember coming into class, and back then, you know, kids used to dip chewing tobacco.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you meant skipping class.
No. Actually, my senior year, I think I only missed 2 days of school. But so they used to chew tobacco in class, and I remember sitting down, and he said something like, "Mr. Herrera, where's your cohort?" You know, I better change his name. Where's Mr. Smith at? And I was like, I don't know. And he's like, well, I got it down to 2 people making that stain on my floor over there. It's either Lindsey Barnett or Mr. Smith. And I'm like, I think we both know.
Yeah.
You know it's not Lindsay.
Yeah, the power of deduction is strong with that.
Yeah. Oh, Mr. Elson knew. He was
Yeah.
I think he was just trying to gauge my poker face.
That's what I loved about Mr. Elson was he was, he was a real G.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
He didn't act like, he was some authority necessarily.
Right, yeah.
But he still got your respect, but he was just, I don't know, natural.
Yeah,
Just-
that's a good word.
just genuine.
Yeah.
Yeah, genuine guy.
You knew where you stood.
You knew where you stood, and a good teacher too. The one thing that I'll always remember about him was 9/11, and that was just a crazy day, and we were all just shell-shocked, and we had the TVs on in all the classrooms, and at a certain point, the superintendent decided that they were going to shut off the TVs and we're going to get back to business as usual. Like, how could you? I get that maybe for the elementary schools, but they just did it across the board. I mean, I'm a sophomore or junior in high school. Junior, I think. And anyway, I'm in Mr. Elson's class, and it's history class. Like, this is history unfolding as we've never seen it in real time. And I was kind of like, hey, I think I'm gonna go. If we can't watch it, here, I'm gonna go home and watch this. And he totally got it. And just, I remember that very vividly. He was like, yeah. Go ahead.
We had a similar situation when I was in elementary, what Apollo mission was it? Or maybe it was...
Oh, you're not that old.
I am.
It was when the teacher went on the space shuttle.
Sally Ride.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
And the space
the
shuttle.
Challenger.
Yeah,
Sally Ride.
Challenger.
Yeah.
Challenger. And it exploded. And I remember sitting in the East School library, right, because Mrs. Levitt usually read a book to us. And we're sitting Indian style, just watching the tube TV. And we were all like, what
Oh, yeah.
did we just see?
Right, yeah, that was one of the craziest televised disasters because the teacher was going to space. I mean, it was like, first time a civilian's going up, and no one expected that. It's just, sorry to bring the whole podcast down.
Yeah.
Talking about the Challenger explosion and 9/11.
Yeah.
We're off to a banging start here.
Okay, let's switch speeds in. Heath, how about that?
All right,
Teddy, you
perfect.
good with that?
Oh, yeah.
How'd you get into doing this media thing? I know that you said not try, but
Yeah, at the time it was called Rat TV.
Rat TV.
I mean, I was always doing little movies. If I could, gosh, I'm so jealous of the kids now. They could just do movies on their iPhone.
Yeah.
I would have went nuts. YouTube, you're putting your podcasts on YouTube. I would have had movies on YouTube when I was like 11.
Yeah.
So I was doing that with a VHS camcorder and figuring out how to edit on my own. I remember taking VHS tapes of movies that I had and editing my own movie trailers out of those. Yeah, by just connecting two VHS decks and starting one and then recording on the other and timing it out. And I mean, it sounds insane to anybody who probably does video editing now.
Man.
Bro.
And then layering music, playing music under that. And it was just so much fun. So I don't know. I've been obsessed with movies since I can remember. The first movie I saw in the theater that I remember seeing in the theater, which blew my mind, was the first Batman movie. And I know that we get Batman
Where'd you
movies
see
every
that
other
at?
year. I saw that in the mall, the North Point Mall.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it just was an experience that I will never forget. I think I was 4 years old. And
You remember that?
I do. I remember. I vividly remember it. Because a little kid is going to be into Batman, and they had the reruns of the Adam West on TV all the time. And I remember watching the TV show, and then the commercials for the updated new movie with Jack Nicholson and Michael Keaton would come on. And I'm like, I gotta go see that. I have to go see it. And so my dad took me, and it was just the most mind-blowing experience. Well, at 4 years old, yeah.
Yeah.
Up to that point, I think I'd only seen Disney cartoons,
Yep.
And I've been obsessed ever since.
But he mentioned the old Batman television
Yeah.
show, Biff.
Yeah,
Bam.
pow, pow, wham.
So it was nothing like Tim Burton
Yeah,
really flipped it on its side
absolutely.
because it was a little bit campy on the TV show.
It was, yeah, yeah.
It was a lot.
Yeah, and this was dark, and I think it really informs everything that I'm doing. So I'm wearing my Misfit Parade shirt. This is my plug. My video production company. We're doing short films, and they're all horror films with a big comedy bent. But my family hates this stuff that I'm doing now because it's so outrageous and gross and bizarre. But I think it all goes back to that Tim Burton movie, that I saw when I was that young. I mean, I've always liked the darker, weirder stuff.
Just put it in perspective for me. A lot of the movies that I enjoy, like showing my kids, a lot of them are Tim Burton movies.
Oh yeah, he's great.
Beetlejuice?
Well, yeah,
Bro.
they're going to have a new one coming out, which is crazy. Like 40 years later, we're doing another Beetlejuice movie. But I watched that. So I saw the Batman movie, and I did probably what most kids don't do, which you would imagine like, okay, I want to read more Batman comics. I'm Batman. No, I was like, who made this?
Really?
How did this happen? So I was watching Jack Nicholson movies and anything Michael Keaton was in, I'm watching. And of course, Tim Burton. That's how I found out what a director was.
Bro, Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Oh, it's great.
Tell him Large Marge sent you. That right there stuck with me. I remember my aunt and uncle took me, it might have been Raintree Plaza.
Loved Raintree.
But that "Tell him Large Marge sent
Yeah.
you" line, I think I was repeating it like the next day at school.
Oh, yeah.
Like I felt like I was showing off. Like "Tell him Large Marge sent you."
Yeah.
They're like, "What are you talking about?" Like, did you
Classic
ever,
stuff.
You ever see Ed Wood?
That is in my top 5 favorite movies
Really?
of all time.
Have you seen Ed Wood?
That is an underrated Tim Burton movie. It's a masterpiece.
I love it. To put it in your top 5, that's hardcore.
Well, it's coming from a person who's a filmmaker.
Right.
That movie is about filmmaking. So, yeah, I'm a little biased. I can see why that's not in most people's top 5,
Yeah.
but to me it is the ultimate movie about filmmaking because it's really just about a band of misfits, idiots, losers that are trying to pull off, a show that they have no capabilities of doing, basically, but they have the gumption, they have the spirit to make it happen.
But
and
they
it's
do
crazy.
pull it off.
Kind of like us. We're idiots.
Yeah,
Misfits, and we're trying to do this.
Yes. Total spirit of Ed Wood.
I woke up this morning not knowing what I was going to do about anything. I have no clue, no vision.
Yeah, no,
But
it's always
I just-
kind of like
I just
a
do
haze,
it.
right?
Yeah, I just do it. But yeah, Ed Wood, like I would say, like to be like brutally honest, it's a Johnny Depp movie, but a lot of people hated it. I know my better half hates it.
Beetlejuice.
No, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Oh, that's a trip. That movie's a trip.
I bet you I made Holbrooks a lot of money renting that.
Oh, you were taking me back, Conrad.
Yep.
I lived in Holbrooks.
Yeah.
That was like my sanctuary. You know what? The best job I ever had in my whole life, and I've had a lot of good ones, was Video Stop.
Really?
I worked at Video Stop in high school. The best times. I have too many stories from that. Yeah. So the best job.
Now,
Absolutely great.
You're talking about that story. That throws me to the movie Benchwarmers. David Spade goes in there, and he wants to ask that girl out that works there. Mm-hmm. Or no, he works there, and this girl comes in, right? That blonde-headed lady.
I don't know which part you're talking about.
Well, what I will say about I've not seen that movie, but I do remember when Joe Dirt came out.
Oh,
God, people could not get enough of that movie at the video store. They're like, we'd have Titanic or whatever on, like, no, Joe Dirt. Where's that Joe Dirt movie?
Well, you only had a certain amount of copies,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
We won't be
Like,
back till 6 o'clock tomorrow.
Yeah, we weren't anticipating that the Gas City audience would love Joe Dirt as much as they did.
So my daughter, she's getting a summer job from college, and she gets hired on at Mississinewa to be a janitor.
Oh yeah, I had friends
And
that did that. Yeah.
I was like, hey, should I get you a Joe Dirt? Because when she was little, we had the Joe Dirt DVD, and she watched it over like it was Mary Poppins.
It's a great movie.
It's a hilarious.
So funny.
movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I would be like, you gonna clean up that puke? you gonna eat that puke? And she didn't find it humorous. But
So quotable.
I think it's one of Adam Sandler's Happy Madison.
Yes.
His best.
Agreed.
Now Grandma's Boy is pretty good.
Grandma's Boy is a classic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Underrated in the theater, but did really good.
Yes, it did,
Okay,
yeah.
now we're going someplace else. So, making magic happen on film.
I don't know that I would call it magic. It's something. But we're making it happen, yeah.
How difficult?
It's extremely difficult. Extremely hard to do. You might not assume that. It depends on what your aspirations are. Like, we're trying to do things on shoestring budgets that could compete with what, and you have to do it this way, that you have to compete with quote unquote Hollywood, because now everything is on the same playing field. You log on to Netflix and you're going to scroll through a bunch of titles that were produced for millions and millions of dollars. And you might also be in the same carousel as something produced for $500,000, which sounds like a lot of money, but for producing a film, it's nothing.
Right.
Compared to the Avengers, which cost $300 million, something like that. So you have to find a way to compete with these huge films, and that's a challenge. That's a big challenge, and that's different than I think how it used to be before. You could kind of be a little boutique, direct-to-video. The fun is that it's sort of shitty, and now it's it's all on the same menu. So it's tough. It's tough, and you don't really know how tough it is until you get into it. I mean, like I said, I've been doing this my whole life, basically, and I feel like I learn something every project we do. I'm like, how did I not know that before?
No, I get that.
And you did 9 movies?
We just wrapped our 10th.
Okay.
Yeah. Short films, though.
Right,
Shorts.
right. Yep.
So these are like, I think our longest one is 8 minutes.
Okay.
And we just found out that we got that one into a new film festival, so that's exciting. And when you go to these festivals, I just did one 2 weekends ago. And it's just a horror only. So that narrows the field, right?
Yep.
These movies are amazing. It's kind of like, how do people come up with this? How are they able to do it? It just humbles you completely to see all of these films that no one else has seen because they're on quote unquote the festival circuit. And you're just like, I can't compete with this. This is amazing. So the talent that's out there, the competition, it's insane.
Wow. Because you're dealing with everybody else's imagination.
You're dealing with everybody, and it's something everybody else wants to do, and everyone has access to the same, basically, gear, resources, equipment. Now, that's really not where the cost of films come from, because you have to, rent locations sometimes. In horror, you have to pay for all of the crazy blood effects that you're going to do. I was just on the phone today with a special effects wizard talking about you're probably going to have to raise your budget for the next thing. And, it's just a lot. It's like, how do people pull this off? So every time I go to one of those film festivals, I get, it's like a dichotomy of emotion. On one hand, I'm totally depressed because I'm like, I can't compete with this. And then inspired too, because it's like, all right, I have to do better.
Right.
at least I'm in the arena with these people. So that's a starting place. And our latest one that we feel really good about, I hesitate to say the title. It's a bit crass. You can bleep it, Conrad. It's
Do
called
you want me to?
Oh, it's up to you. I don't know.
I'm not bleeping it.
It's called Sugar Tits is the name of the film. And we had
I've already got a cavity. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, our first movie, we thought, we did this about a year and a half ago, and it did pretty well for our first film, and it was about a priest who is wrestling with carnal temptations, I'll put it that way. Okay. He finds a dirty magazine, and he is tempted to do what men might do with a dirty magazine. And he's a priest, so he has to make sure that he's not disrespecting his Lord and Savior. He gets his comeuppance in the end. But we thought that was an outrageous movie. And we took it to a couple festivals, and we were proven how just low-key that was. Because we saw some stuff that was just nuts. So we were like, okay, we're going to do another one. We really have to go crazy.
Okay.
And we're still not there. But we're elevating every single time. So that's why I say my immediate family kind of hates everything that we're doing, because we're constantly getting more and more extreme.
Evolving.
That's a very generous way to put it, Connor.
I'm a generous guy.
One person might say that we're evolving. You could look at it a different way. But seeing that stuff really shows you kind of where you stack up. And one thing that I've kind of come to figure out, which I would have not thought of before, is, and you might know this being in media, is actually if someone hates what you're doing, an equal amount of people will probably love it. So as long as you are getting some kind of emotional charge from someone, you're probably on the right path.
Well, there's a niche out there somewhere.
Exactly, yeah.
So you got, and now you just got Best Director not long ago, right?
So yes, the film in the festival that I was talking about, I was awarded Best Director, but with the caveat that if you showed up, you most likely got an award. Because there were much better films, much better directors in there, but they were higher profile, I guess, so they didn't attend.
So do you direct and produce, or?
Okay. Yeah. At this level, you kind of have to do it all.
Writer and.
I'm a note giver. Okay. So my partner, Griffey, he does most of the writing, and he has a writing partner as well. And these guys are way more creative and ingenious than I could possibly be. I mean, I do some writing every now and then, but I usually leave that to the professionals, and I'll take on the directing duties.
That's awesome.
That is cool.
So throw out the names of your movies real quick.
Oh my gosh.
Or your film.
Well, I'll just say this. Maybe the easier, quicker way to do that is if you want to see our films or you're curious about our films, go to misfitparade.net, and almost all of them are there.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. He won't talk about himself.
Well, it will be linked on our video.
But you got to realize that he also graduated from Ball State, where your daughter is going.
Yeah.
I will say, yes, I am the beneficiary of a pretty good media education. Ball State, especially at the time, was the only game in town.
Right.
So it felt weird to go off to college like 20 minutes away, but it was the best place to go for what I wanted to do.
Right.
Yeah.
It was, it learned a lot and had a really great opportunity to just kind of, because it was a smaller school, here's the equipment, you guys, just figure it out yourselves. And that's the best way to really to learn, because you can get too in your head if you are being prescribed some sort of method. And you can psych yourself out. The best way to do it, especially when you're young, is I have all this energy, I have all this creative desire, give me the camera, let's go out and make mistakes, get crazy.
I like that.
So that's what we're trying to do now,
Yeah.
basically. I mean, I am only just now on the cusp of 40 coming back into filmmaking from years of, working, and I still do work in corporate media, but we're doing the filmmaking now because the Griffey, the guy that I'm primarily working with, we were both at a place where we were coming back to Indiana. He was in Los Angeles. I was in New York and Boston. We both ended up back in Indiana, mostly for family reasons. And we had a beer, and we were just kind of talking about the old days back at Ball State, like having a great time making stupid movies. And we said, let's do it again for fun. And we've done 10 films since. So, and our ambitions are growing.
That is. And plus, you could stumble into a Billy Bob Thornton type thing, like how he did with Sling Blade. That.
Well, yeah.
Ain't no gas in it.
French fry potatoes.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you never know what's going to happen. That's the big lesson that I've learned, I think, over and over again, is just by doing things, most things just fall flat. But that's not the point. That should not be the motivation for doing something fun. The motivation should be, I love doing it, and this could be fun, and enjoying the process. And every time I've kind of followed that, fun, interesting things at least happen.
Yeah.
Let me go back even a little bit further, because you worked at Fort Wayne at Wayne TV, right?
Ted doing his research.
But was
That's what he does.
Was Heather Heron there then?
Yeah, she was.
You know whose daughter that was?
No.
Fred Heron used to be assistant principal at Mississinewa.
Oh,
when I
really?
went there, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Then he went to Madison Grant, was like their
Yeah.
superintendent.
Well, and
That was his
so
daughter.
My aunt was the secretary at Gaston. They have their own high school. I feel, or maybe
No.
that was Madison Grant. Anyway, I know she was the school secretary, and Heather was one of the students there at the time. So
Wow.
when I worked with Heather, she had to let me know that she knew Heather. Very sweet lady. And now she's back in news. She went away for a while and was doing other things. But yeah, that was my first job after Ball State, and I had no plan for what I was going to do because I was so focused on, I have these resources at Ball State. They have camera equipment. It wasn't so easy to come by then.
Right.
And I just had to do as many movies as I could before I graduated. And so I was not focused on what happens after graduation.
Yeah.
I remember my parents were on my ass. It was like, you're going to have to pay rent pretty soon here. Like not Ball State rent with a bunch of roommates.
Right.
Like, you're going to have a life. And I remember my mom sent me that listing, and luckily, from the work I had done at Ball State, they hired me right out of college at Fort Wayne, and it was a good first step. And now, being back in news, that was the only reason that I got to get back into news, because I was out of it. I think I lasted less than a year because I wanted to go to L.A. and my old college roommate for one of the years was working on the Twilight movie.
Really?
Yeah, he had went out to L.A. He's like, I'm working on this movie Twilight. I think it's going to suck, but you should come out here. And he described it to me. It was before the movie came out. It was in pre-production. And I was like, yeah, that sounds terrible.
Yeah.
Well, of course, it was a huge hit.
Look what it did. Yeah,
but he's like,
exactly.
all kinds of stuff's happening out here. You need to come. So anyway, long story short, I was out of the news business because I was pursuing film. And, a recession happens, writer's strike happens. There's not so many opportunities in 2007 and 8 when I'm looking for those in the film business. And then I come back into news, and a great career that I've had so far. I still work in local TV news. I work for WTHR, Channel 13 in Indianapolis. And that all is because of that first job in Fort Wayne. Yeah.
So you're WTHR now.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Looks
So-
good on the resume when you're applying.
Who else works at WTHR right now, the month of May?
Laura Steele.
That's right. Laura Steele does.
Laura Steele.
But you also worked at WXIN.
I did work at
CBS
WXIN.
4.
So that's when I came back into the business.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, that was 10 years ago now. That was 2014, yeah.
Wow. But he lived in Boston too, and he has no accent. Where's that?
I tried.
Where's that
You just
accent?
sounded Australian, bro.
No, it's Boston. It's
Boston.
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 Go get my khakis.
Like you're from Dorchester.
Oh, Chessie, yeah. He's like
I don't know, guys. My ears pretty.
Ben
keen,
Affleck
man.
and Wahlberg and Damon and Affleck.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, oh, the best.
The Town.
Yeah, oh, The Town's a great film. Boston has a lot of great movies. Departed's one of my favorites.
Oh, yeah, me too, yeah.
It is a classic for sure for
Yeah.
Martin Scorsese.
Yeah, even though everybody's Boston accent is terrible except for Matt Damon's.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
How does Mark Wahlberg's?
No, Wahlberg is good.
Wahlberg's
Yeah, he's
pretty-
he's legit.
You know what? When he's doing that Boston asshole.
Yeah,
Part-
Dingham. Yeah,
Yeah,
Yep.
in the office, I'm like, that sounds legit.
Oh, yeah.
That even looks legit. Like
Yeah.
his whole
yeah.
how
His
it's
attitude.
Yeah, his attitude. Exactly. I'm like, what an asshole.
There was this great sketch that Saturday Night Live did, and Casey Affleck was in it, and it was all about Dunkin' Donuts for the holiday.
Yeah.
They just nailed. If you've never seen that, it's got to be on YouTube or something. You can
Yeah.
find it. It's hilarious.
Why do they love Dunkin' Donuts over
They're
there?
everywhere. Dunkin' Donuts. It's like I don't even know how to explain.
Is it like Dairy Queen for Tennessee? And
Yeah, or a Waffle House in the
Waffle House.
South. Like
Yeah.
every corner has a Dunkin'.
Kind
And
of like Dollar Generals in Indiana.
yeah, exactly. And I'm obsessed with Dunkin' now after having lived in Boston for 3 years.
what's it called? A Dunkin' Chino or
Dunkaccino, yeah. Well, the one thing that's crazy in Boston is, I have like this, I kind of have this Larry David thing with a lot of little pet peeves, like things annoy me, right? And one of those things is you got to have like your simple coffee. Everybody goes to Starbucks and they have some elaborate, ridiculous order that sounds like, you're getting some.
Are we talking about Mocha Joe's?
Mocha Joe's, yeah. Oh my God. It's like I just want a coffee. I'm sitting in line, waiting behind 3 other people that have to have like all of these special customizations on their damn coffee. It's like it's a coffee. Get your coffee and go. So I'm in Boston, and what everybody does in Boston, regardless of the season, is they drink iced coffee. And I'm like, that sounds like an abomination. Coffee is coffee. It has to be hot. But I will say, Boston turned me on to iced coffee.
Really?
Iced coffee, it's unbelievable.
So what is it? Like
It's just
like
coffee with ice in
Coffee
it.
with ice.
I know
Yeah,
that.
it's very
Like,
simple. but-
Savannah has an iced macchiato that she has to have.
Yeah, see, that's where I draw the line.
Now I've accidentally, been flipping through my phone and grabbed my coffee and not realized that it's been a half hour since I've had a sip, and cold coffee tastes the worst. I drink
it's
my
terrible.
coffee black.
Yeah, no, me too. Exactly.
It's the worst.
I agree. That's exactly why I was so resistant to it. They're like, no, bro, you got to get the iced coffee from Dunkies with 2 creams, blah blah blah. All right, and I gotta say, it's especially in the summer, it's quite a treat.
Beer check. Anybody need a beer?
I'm still good.
I'm ready.
All right.
Now for a word from our sponsors.
I wish it was Coors Light.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of that movie, The Departed, with all the superstar actors they had in
it's
it,
so good.
what would the budget be on something like that?
Well, I think they were probably able to keep it low because
Thank you.
everybody wants to work with the director, But yeah, I mean, what was the movie? Because I listened to these all I listen to is movie podcasts.
Right.
Except for now, I'll start mixing in Garage Talk. But they talk about how the problem with the business now is so few people are going to the theaters for all these different reasons, and the expenses for just getting good actors alone is just too high. So these movies aren't profiting, and it's because they're asking too much money.
Let's go down the rabbit hole. The Illuminati.
Oh,
Are they really offering these people $50 million to sell their soul?
Yeah, sure. Gosh,
They're overpaying me. I'm kidding. I'm
I
kidding.
feel like this is a documentary opportunity. I need to jump on this. Do an Illuminati movie, a Bigfoot movie.
Yeah. It's
Sasquatch.
Speaking of short films, have you guys ever thought about going out to Spook's Corner?
Well, one of our Rat TV episodes we did at Spook's Corner.
Did you really?
They cleaned all that up, I heard.
Yeah,
Old Hoggy Miller.
Yeah,
It was classic.
Man,
There was a bus. The legend was there was a bus
Yeah.
that had crashed.
Yeah.
And,
all the
You
little
go
kids'
up-
eyeballs are watching.
yeah.
they were all raccoons. It was
Yeah,
a family of raccoons that lived out.
It was creepy, though.
Yeah,
It was a creepy little area.
The thought of it was more exciting.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The expectation. Like, for me, when I think about, like, some of the scary, like, places, I always heard that J.C. Knight was haunted by
Oh, yeah.
a
I
janitor.
vaguely remember that. Yes.
And there was I might catch some heat for this, but I think the story goes there was a little girl who was a cheerleader there, and the janitor maybe murdered her.
Sounds like Freddy Krueger.
I don't think it happened in the boiler room, though. I
I've been in the boiler room at
there-
that school before.
There's supposed to be like an upstairs gym.
There is. It's weird.
Okay.
Gosh, I don't think I've stepped foot in J.C. Knight since 1998.
That was my favorite school.
Yeah.
I went there 2 years.
And then where'd you go?
Crazy.
I figured.
Join the club.
Then I went to RJ Basket
Yeah.
for a year, and then to the high school.
Yeah. So, are you do you like that kind of stuff?
Oh, yeah. It's the best.
So what'd you think about that TV show that came to Marion? Did you see that?
I don't know.
What's that guy's name? He has the haunted. It's
Oh,
off the
yeah.
Travel Network.
Oh, yeah.
About a month ago, yeah.
Yeah. About
Oh,
a month-
that came to. Is that the same guy that bought the possessed place up
Yeah.
in northern
Yeah.
Indiana?
Yeah.
That the Indy started that story on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't think of it.
I can't think of it. God, it's super famous. I feel
Yeah.
like an idiot that I forget it. Yeah. No, I'm into that.
I don't know, like, if I believe in ghosts or, you just never know.
Right.
I haven't seen one yet, so, but I love being scared.
Oh, it's the best. I love haunted houses. I love
The
roller
fear.
coasters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ever come to the Screamway?
What's the Screamway?
Wait, what?
What?
I don't know about this. Well, keep in mind, I've only been back in Indiana for about a year. So I was on the East Coast for 7.
Yeah.
So I might have missed the Screamway. Now, I do remember at the old East School when
They used to have a haunted house,
They used to have a haunted house there, and they did a great job. I think it was the police department did that.
Yep.
So, for the
The
past...
Cardinal Screamway
Yeah,
is what it's called.
the Cardinal Screamway. It starts Water Street in Jonesboro, and it goes up to, what's that church called?
I'm not sure which one. The Pentecostal church, maybe?
Possibly, but there's a steps you can exit off. But anyways, it's a group of volunteers from Jonesboro. They are legit.
It's crazy.
It is so dark.
Yeah.
And they do such a good job, like, coming together and eat. So there's tunnels.
Ooh.
So there's, like, one section was like a butcher, one section was like a Victorian, and one section was clowns.
Oh, I need to hire these people to do set design for our next movies.
They do a great
Bro,
job. They really do.
Check out it's about a 20-minute behind the scenes on YouTube that we did. And it's
Oh, okay. All right.
so it's called the Screamway.
I'll look at
Their
it.
theme for that year was "We're all freaks here."
And they're kind of like you, man. They go to all these conventions and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Buy new stuff,
Right.
and bring it back,
Right.
and they
Yeah.
it's really
Okay, yeah.
It's
I
pretty
gotta,
neat.
I gotta look at that. So I'm sure they do that like in October.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
right
I'll
around
have to come
Halloween
check it
time.
out.
It's-
Oh, they had the line clear almost
Back
to
to-
22.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
Yeah.
especially if the weather's good.
Yeah.
Even if it's raining, there's people out there with their umbrellas and they're waiting to get in
Yeah, that stuff's great, especially that time of year.
there. And they
There's nothing like it.
I would go to a haunted house any time of year, though.
Yeah.
See, and the good thing about those people over there is because they give back some of the profits to the Cardinal Greenway.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
They don't keep all of it.
Yeah, that's cool.
But it's a good thing for the community.
I'm sure it cost a lot to put something like that on, though.
Well, I mean, time.
Yeah, time, but that's a production.
Yep.
Production
And
costs money.
they all volunteer their time.
Yeah, that's great.
Set it up.
So Deanna has decor for Easter. Hell, I think she might have St. Patrick's Day decor. The only decor I have are fake tombstones for Halloween. That's the only time of the year. Like I love
Me
it.
too. It's my favorite
love
holiday,
it.
of course.
Yeah.
I do have a funny story. So when my girlfriend and I, when we first moved to New York, we lived in a Brooklyn neighborhood. And we got there around this time of year. So there are a whole lot of holidays that we had been exposed to. Halloween comes around. This neighborhood blows it out for Halloween. I was in heaven. It was just like every house was decked out. And it's a brownstone neighborhood too. So it's not really houses, it's brownstones. But just like Halloween every block. And like celebrities come to this neighborhood for their Halloween trick-or-treating.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's just, huge parade, blocks and blocks of people for Halloween. Just like if you're a Halloween fan, this is a great place to visit on Halloween if you're in New York. And Lindsay, my girlfriend, obsessed with Christmas. And she's like, oh boy, if this is what they do for Halloween, wait until Christmas. And what she didn't calculate was that in New York, in Brooklyn, we didn't realize that most of our neighbors are Jewish. So I got my great big extravagant Halloween and she got nothing for Christmas.
Oh, goodness.
Wow.
That's crazy.
She got dreidel. She got dreidled.
Yeah, now look, I mean,
Yeah.
New York, one of the best places in the world to be for Christmas. So we just wandered over to Manhattan and it was fine.
Right.
Yeah, here's your Macy's. Here's your Macy's display. Enjoy.
The
Man.
Macy's Day Parade. That's so. Like, what's your craziest New York story? Because I'm always seeing this
I have a
thing.
lot of crazy New York stories.
Because I'll be like, I go into this where I just zone out, and I'm like, if something catches my eye, interesting. Like, they were showing something, the streets of New York, like these bodegas throwing out their trash, and like they have a nice sized trash pile on the street.
Oh yes, it's
So
a wonderful smell in the summer too.
Is it? So yeah, so they throw this bag of trash on top of the pile,
Yeah.
and like all these rats like shoot out
Oh yeah,
and then come back.
yeah, that's their home.
It's like they split and come back, and like everybody's like oh, excuse me, Mr. Rat, sorry, interrupt
Oh yeah,
your day.
they're
And they like
part of the
walk-
citizenry.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're everywhere. Oh, so lots of rats.
So what's the craziest? One of your craziest events that's happened in New York?
I definitely have an immediate crazy event that comes to mind. And almost every crazy story that I can think of happens on the subway, in the subway system, which I took every single day to work. And I will say, I miss it a lot, like public transportation. What I found out about myself when I went to New York is that I'm a big city person. I loved it. And we had people that would come to visit us from, that's from here, used to the small town, just not their speed. And I wasn't sure if it would be mine, but it's just, there's nothing like it. The energy, the excitement, just every day there's something, you could see something crazy, you could see someone crazy. So, I mean, I have a lot of things I could dive into and get on tangents about with New York City, but I will answer your question, Conrad.
Sweet.
The craziest thing that I've seen, and this ended up, here's a good tease for the story, is this put me in a lineup, or put me in a room where I was watching a lineup of potential perpetrators from this story.
So this isn't like Law and Order.
I mean, a little bit.
Okay, all right.
So I'm going to work, and the way the subway lines typically work, there are 2 tracks, and my train is stopped, waiting for people to come on, and there's a platform in between the 2 train tracks, and we're stopped, and I'm right by the window, and I happen to see a man standing by the edge of the other track, and another man come up and just randomly shove him into the subway track. And there's a train coming. And I'm thinking, what am I going to see here? And it was just one of the shocking, unbelievable things. Like, who would do that? And luckily, the man was pulled up in time. It was very close before the train came and just took him out. And me, working for the news at the time, in my news brain, I'm like, this is a story. So, I acted a
You
little...
heard it here first.
Yeah, I acted a little too late. I wish I would have had my phone ready and recording already, but I hopped off, and I got onto the platform, and I turned my phone on. I start interviewing this guy, and I'm like, did you see who pushed you? Well, how'd this happen? He's like, I don't know what happened. I'm like, did you, bump up against anyone? Did you do someone wrong? He's like, I don't know what happened. So this crazy guy just came in and pushed him in. So I ended up on the news that night telling the story. I ended up in multiple interviews with the police, and then with prosecutors down in City Hall in New York, giving my testimony. I don't know if they found the guy, but that was... to just describe it is not like seeing it. So to me, I probably could have come up with a better story, but like seeing that was crazy.
Oh,
just seeing someone almost murdered.
So was your feelings like, were you like instantly pissed off, or like, bro, what the fuck?
I was just shocked. I was just kind of like, what this is attempted murder I just witnessed. Another subway story is I had a woman throw up on me.
In the subway?
Yeah.
On the train.
On the train. A very sweet elderly lady who I sat next to, and then she started having a seizure and threw up on me. And it was crazy because no one knew what to do, and there's this emergency button on the train car. And granted, I think this was maybe my 2nd month in New York. I did not know my way around town or how anything worked. And so I hop up, and for some reason, everyone's like yelling at me, like I have to do something. They're like, hit the emergency button, hit the emergency button. I'm like, okay, where is it? And then I go to find it, and then someone's like, don't hit that button. If you hit that button, we're going to be in the middle of this. We got to get to the next stop.
Oh, no.
And it was just chaos. And so we get to the next stop, everybody's freaking out, and then the lady just wakes up, and she's going, what's going on? I'm like, lady, are you all right?
Oh, man.
And so when I got to my stop at work in Manhattan, I had to run to the Gap on the corner and totally buy a whole new wardrobe.
Did they have a shower at that Gap?
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, it was gross.
I don't know what's worse. Being puked on or somebody sneezing on you.
Yeah.
But being puked on, I don't know if I could control my...
Yeah, right?
Because I'm instantly... I hear somebody gagging.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
It's like that scene in The Sandlot, right?
Yeah.
The whatever that...
At the county fair or whatever. Yeah, they don't have tobacco.
That's Stand By, on Stand By Me, when he's telling that story about the kid eating the pie, and he had drank that bottle of Ipecac, and he starts puking. Everybody in there. Yeah. So yeah.
Chain reaction.
Yeah.
We were talking about puking before he got here, wasn't we?
Yeah, we were.
Conrad was telling some pretty bad stories.
Yeah.
We won't mention no names, anybody.
No.
Yeah, there's a few college puking stories I can think of, yeah.
This was earlier this year. I felt ill, and I haven't been so ill that I've thrown up. And since I was a kid.
Yeah.
And just to give context to everything, I love peanut butter.
I thought you were going to say, I love puke. I've been waiting to puke for 20 years.
I've been challenging myself. When are you going to do it, Conrad? You're 4,000 days so with no puke. So, like, I love peanut butter. I don't know why that's funny to me to, like, confess to people. I love peanut butter.
It's so good.
So, I like it in oatmeal. Like,
yeah?
oatmeal right out of the microwave. You put the peanut butter
okay.
in there, it gets all melty. So I have this bowl of oatmeal with peanut butter in it. I'm like, man, that was scrumptious. Right? Hour later, I'm not feeling that well. And I'm like, well, I know it's not the peanut butter or the oatmeal. So it turns out I was really sick.
Yeah.
So I go to, like, really hardcore violent vomit into the trash can, and she didn't ask if I was okay. She was like, you better not be doing that in the sink.
Right.
You better. I'm like, dude, am I half an idiot? I'm puking in the trash can. I wanted to puke in the sink.
Yeah.
But you know what? I haven't touched peanut butter
Well,
since.
that was my question, yeah.
No,
I know. That's how it works.
If I smell it,
Yeah.
it takes me right back.
Yeah.
And
We're
I
going to have to
love.
switch to almond butter, I guess.
I don't know. I'm not a.
Hey, well, Jif came out with peanut butter. It's got chocolate in it now.
Do they?
You might try
What
that.
took them so long?
I know, right?
But I can eat a
Tired of
Reese's
sticking
cup.
my Hershey's bar in a peanut
Yeah.
butter jar.
Oh, you do not. You eat candy.
Sometimes.
Dude,
That's not the physique of a sweetie.
if my sugar's dropping.
No, it's not. He's like, hey, I just had me a nice helping of cottage cheese. It's got
one of my favorites.
Tuna. Yeah, he's like, I ate a can of tuna.
You ever mix cottage cheese and tuna
Oh, yeah.
together?
Yeah, I
That's
have.
great.
It
Man.
is. It's a good little snack.
That's hardcore. That's
You ever
hardcore.
had a sardine?
Yeah, I have had a sardine. Yeah.
He never has.
I don't know that I'd be buying sardines to snack on,
We're
but
going to do a challenge on a podcast one
Yeah.
day.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
what are you
like,
afraid of, Conrad? The little eyes?
All of it.
Or the tail.
I think it's the whole, like, there's bones in it, right? Are the entrails? Am I eating like what's going on in a sardine can?
I'm going to put you on Bear Grylls'.
No,
Show.
listen. I wouldn't survive on Naked and Afraid or anything like that. I'm dead.
You have to drink your own urine.
Oh no.
We won't go there either.
Yeah.
I had a urine story about that.
Yeah, as a self-professed city guy,
Yeah.
I'm out on all that.
But, okay, Boston, New York, I mean, you're not going to toot your own horn, but I am. I mean, you're a Gas City boy. Hey, you won some Emmys.
Bro,
It's still an Emmy.
They are regional Emmys.
That's okay. That's still an Emmy.
It does look like the other Emmys.
do you see the certificate down there?
Yeah.
We're Grant County's greatest.
We don't have an Emmy yet.
Now, you do have to celebrate your wins. You do. Yeah.
We're proud of you. I mean, that's
Thanks. You know, what kind of drives me nuts, this is one of my Larry David things. When someone wins an award and they say, oh, I'm so humbled. I'm like,
no, you're not.
you're not humbled. You're not humbled. Like, someone punching me out humbles me.
I'm like Kanye West when I win something.
Yeah,
or
yeah,
if I don't.
Yeah, I mean, come on, you're honored to win an award. I mean,
bruh.
you're being stroked here. You're like, you're not humbled.
Yeah, I like to look at it like we have put out a podcast every day, or not every day, every week for the past since April 7th,
2022.
Wow, great.
Yeah.
We haven't missed a week.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's the difference maker. Like, that's the dedication that
Yeah.
your competition probably doesn't have, most of them. So,
Not around here.
yeah.
and there's been a couple weeks where we've done 2. So
Yeah.
yeah, like
There's been a couple of times it's just me and Conrad talking to each other. But
Well, you got to do what you got
we
to
might do a music review.
So did you ever
or-
think that would happen when you first started doing this?
No, no.
And,
I didn't even know what we were even,
Right.
what this would look like, or the vision that we had. Now, like, I think we have kind of like, yeah, okay, we got it.
Yeah.
I think this is the way we should go, Teddy.
It takes a while to figure that out.
Yeah,
and that's-
people love the overly interesting stuff. They like the real wacky stuff. And
Yeah.
so, like the Wing review was really popular. I had somebody mention to me, "Oh, there's been some unsolved cases here in Grant County. You should dabble into that. We'd love to."
Oh, true crime is
Yeah,
definitely
That's
yeah,
big. That's
the way to get into that. Yeah.
Teddy's got the voice for true crime. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like the breathy,
Yeah.
like Keith Morrison
Yeah,
from
this is-
Dayline.
he's my favorite.
Early morning, the fog was looming. What's the process look like when you're casting?
Well, at this stage, it's kind of like whoever is around that will do it.
Okay.
That's a huge win. No, we've gotten into some actual legit casting. One thing is tough, being in Indiana and finding good actors. They're out there, but there aren't any necessarily casting agents around that you can go to and say, hey, pick out someone for me. You really have to do your research. There's a great resource that I've leaned on a lot called the Indiana Filmmakers Network. Been around for a while, and their Facebook page is pretty active. So what I do, and I've been doing this for a year, is anytime someone that is doing a film or is promoting a film, and there are other groups now too that I've been turned on to, but are posting about something or interacting in that community, I write their names down, or I keep a document with their name, with the link to their social media, and their headshots if I can find it. That's the great thing about social media, is you have people's pictures. And I'll do my research, and I just keep a catalog. And then when something comes up that I feel like, okay, I need to find someone to fit this type of character, I have a whole repository of people that I've kind of cataloged, and then I'll just start reaching out. Sometimes that works. Other times we've done kind of cold casting calls where you just kind of put it out on Facebook. Or there are certain like casting groups where you can make your listings, and people will apply and say, hey, consider me for this role, and we'll do Zoom auditions or just talk to people. So yeah, we've cast people that way before. Sometimes you can get in touch with like some lower level celebrities, especially doing the horror filmmaking. We've met people on like horror conventions that show up to make a little bit of money signing some autographs if they were in an 80s movie or
Right.
something, and they'll be in your movie sometimes. They have just a base rate, you have to meet that fee, and if you can come up with that money, they'll come be in your movie.
okay.
A friend of mine that I met at one of these festivals, he cast Eric Roberts. Do you know who Eric Roberts is?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So for 80s babies, they'll recognize Eric Roberts a lot better. I don't know that he's been in that much recently, but he'll come around and do your movie.
He was in a couple music videos. With
Oh,
the
yeah,
Killers.
Yeah, that's
Mr.
right.
Brightside.
Mr. Brightside, he was in that
Yeah.
video. He had a really good part in The Dark Knight.
Yep.
And of course, he was in a lot of, he was like in
He was a gangster in The Dark Knight,
the
right?
gang, yeah, yes. And what was this big movie he did in the 80s with Mickey Rourke?
Star. Oh. I was thinking about the one that he did where the Playboy playmate got murdered.
Oh,
He played the boyfriend. It was Star something.
Oh, yeah, I can't remember.
Dorothy Stratton.
Don't you
was in
miss
it.
those movies?
Yeah.
Those old, like, sexual thrillers from the
Yeah.
90s.
Yeah. I remember.
Porky's? Fast
I
Time
think-
to Ridgemont High.
Didn't
That's not-
Kim
That was,
Cattrall
that was
play
the
Porky?
80s. Yes, she did. She was,
Yeah.
she was
The
Lassie,
stock-
the jock straps.
Yeah, yeah.
she,
the
was
sniffer.
in, she was in Mannequin.
Yeah, that was a great movie.
Yeah, Mannequin's fun.
Yeah. How does, like, when you pitch a movie, hey, listen, do you start off with, I know this is going to sound weird.
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
That's exactly what
I've
we
got,
say.
you know, the mannequins are really hot in the clothing retail stores. What if this one falls in love with me and comes to life? It's like a Pinocchio in
It is.
warped.
Like Weird Science is one of those. They just did those movies all the time.
Right.
And we're trying to bring that back. I do think culture has gotten a little chaste, you know, like a little conservative, a little Tipper Gore-ish. And, and it would be nice to, you know, that's what we're trying to do. You know, not being rude to any groups.
Right.
But just having fun. You know, I think we can have
It's
fun
art,
still.
man. It's
Yeah,
art.
it's all fun, you know, for entertainment.
What about AI?
You know, this logo is AI. I hate to admit.
Really?
I am a fan of AI with caveats. I mean, I can see where it could get all Terminator 2-ish. But for the independent filmmaker who is trying to compete with Hollywood level, you know, resources, AI is a great resource. Now, we don't use AI to write our scripts, but apologies to my graphic design friends, I've used Midjourney quite a bit to help, at least in pre-production, kind of concept some of the images that we want to evoke at like $10 a month for a subscription for that.
Yeah. Has the AI gotten you on anything?
You know what? My Facebook feed is just, I feel like it's all bullshit AI stuff now. And here's why I think it has gotten me. I think I can recognize it, but the problem is I'm stopped and looking at it, trying to figure out if it's real or not.
Yeah.
And the algorithm is saying, oh, you like this content, you're looking at it, and it just keeps feeding me
I'm
more.
gonna show you more.
So I'm going to give you an example of when I first got by AI, and I'm going to say a word, and let's see if you can guess what it is. You too, Teddy. Buttered sausage.
Oh, Gary Busey. I did get, no, you're right. I was got by that too. I thought I was real.
So-
but I mean, it's Gary Busey, so why would you?
Yeah, so I was like, so when I seen the interview, I was like, oh, that's typical Gary Busey. It's a little fun, you know, and I was walking around for days, you know, talking to my friends saying butter sausage.
Yeah.
You know,
That's hilarious.
yeah. What's the other part to it? I don't buy honey. He goes, I don't buy jelly, I buy honey.
Yeah.
I like to kiss it on the lips.
Right. Yeah. That's great. But you know, AI is executing that, but a person came up with that.
Yeah.
But that's hilarious.
Yeah, it's funny.
Like, nonsense. I love it. I love nonsense. Like, Tim Robbins, like, nobody really gets, is it?
Tim
Robinson. Tim Robinson.
I think you should leave. Hilarious. It's one of the best.
So I'm trying to show Deanna this, and she's like, this is nonsensical.
Yeah,
This is what kind of humor is that? He's got a hot dog up his sleeve. He's saying, you can't skip lunch.
You can't skip lunch.
He can't.
Yeah, unless you're going to Dan Flash's to get your next shirt.
Yeah. So I'll walk around and go, and she just doesn't get it. But
That's
I
real
find
esoteric humor, but it's good.
I find it like funny. Like, okay, I'll tell you another. I just watched it. Terrifier.
Oh, I love Terrifier.
Did you?
Yeah, both of them. I thought they were
Man,
great.
I loved it, and
That guy's my hero, Damien Leone.
everybody was like, "This is kind of ridiculous." I'm like, I heard somebody had a heart attack watching this.
Yeah, that's just good marketing.
Yeah, it's excellent marketing.
Yeah, I mean, he's bringing it back to and improving upon what the 80s were all about with the extreme horror films. And people miss that, and we've gotten, and you know, everything goes in cycles, right? And I think he was just ahead of the curve. It's about time to bring back the Friday the 13th, the Freddy's, they ran their course, they went dormant, and now it's time for a iconic slasher villain, where we've had a lot of like ghost movies and Saw movies, and I like all of those too. But I think he really read the zeitgeist and said, okay, it's time to bring this back and do it in a way that we haven't seen in a long time. It's really good.
I think they do need to give Michael Myers a vacation.
Yeah. They're not going to, though.
What was your first horror movie that you really liked?
Did you say horror movie or porn movie? What did you say?
Oh, well, do you want me to talk about my days video stop in the back room there?
The back room.
Probably my first one was Scrambled.
Oh, shit. I legitimately thought, that's how it came through on my, there's something wrong here.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, wait, something kind of right.
Or something got it right.
Did you say erect?
I was talking about
Just
engineering.
thinking it, yeah.
But,
First horror movie?
yeah,
That you remember?
The first,
that spoke to you.
just like gun to my head, the first that I remember, and I didn't see the whole movie. I went over to my cousin's house, and I think my uncle was watching Child's Play.
Okay.
And my mom and my aunt were in the kitchen doing whatever adults do, and I was stuck in the living room, and I'm watching a scene from Child's Play, and it freaked me out. I had nightmares for days. But, that was just kind of like a drive-by horror.
Okay.
But, I mean, it stuck with me. But I would say the first horror movie, like, I am consciously going to go watch a horror movie, was the original Dracula.
Really?
The 1930s
Okay.
Dracula, yeah.
Nosferatu? Or,
Well,
no,
no, the one with Bela Lugosi.
Yep.
Yeah. That and Psycho.
Yeah.
Psycho, again,
Okay.
I still love Psycho. I watch
Yep.
it all the time. It's just just one of the best movies ever. And so, yeah, I mean, that was like a very tame way to get into horror, but I was very much kind of like a rule follower, and there were things I was allowed to watch, not allowed to watch. Unless my dad took me. Mom had rules, Dad did not have rules. I know Dad took me to see RoboCop 2 when I was 5, where it was just like a thing, a movie he wanted to see, and he had to babysit it. I was just like, this is... If you watch that movie now, thinking about a 5-year-old, it's like one of the most violent, insane movies ever. But actual horror movies, Can I Rent Dracula? Can I, those were the movies that I felt like if they were in black and white, maybe I could get away with watching them. So yeah, those were the early ones.
Teddy, yours?
Well, the first one I remember, or my favorite?
Either or.
Cujo.
Oh, that is a good one.
Stephen King.
I've watched so many, but go ahead.
Children of the Corn.
Also Stephen King. Yeah.
So, I'm gonna go along with Teddy. I remember, I do a lot of Pet Cemetery stuff, like the ground is sour over there.
Yeah.
The Children of the Corn, The Shining, though.
Yeah.
So this is if you judge my parenting, you can go ahead and kiss my ass, but I thought I did an excellent job. My daughter was on the dean's list at the end of the year. So
Hey, you know what? People, there's a study, I know that I've come across it, where horror fans are shown to be actually more intelligent.
well, there you go.
I think
I have a dry erase, big magnetic dry erase thing on the garage fridge. And I go out there, and Savannah had wrote the red rum in red marker on the dry erase. I almost dropped a tear.
Yes.
I had to bend over and like inhale, exhale. I took a picture of it, sent it to all my boys. I'm like, man, this kid. Just when I think she's at the pinnacle,
Until she starts like actually shining and doing
Mrs. Torrance.
yeah, and then you're frozen in a maze. That could go wrong for you. I could see that.
Yeah. So I'll stay away from being what do they call it at a hotel?
Yeah, the Overlook.
Yeah. I'll stay away from that.
About Carrie.
Carrie's a
Carrie's one of my
classic.
favorites.
I don't like when they redo them and they make them horribly
I
bad.
know.
Like
Yeah.
Sissy Spacek, I mean,
Killed it.
Yeah,
Just, you can't do better.
I can't think of the guy's name, but he played the greatest American hero in a TV show.
Yep. I can't remember his name either, but I know who you're
The
talking
blonde guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. What is his name? Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. Yeah. Maybe Nicky something? Yeah, he was so good. I mean, that's a De Palma movie. I'm, huge fan of that guy. He does these weird, sexually subversive, body double, dress to kill.
Yep.
Like, that's the stuff I'm going for. One of my favorite movies is Basic Instinct. It's just, that was growing up. It was a movie for grown-ups, and it was sort of made a punchline. And I always thought, well, people that like Basic Instinct, they're probably a little pervy. That's probably still true. But it's an amazing movie. Like, I've gone back
That is a good movie.
to that movie so many times, and that's playing off of Psycho and Hitchcock. And,
Yep.
De Palma was obsessed with Hitchcock. This is film nerd stuff, but
What about Dusk Till Dawn?
love it. That's exactly that movie is sort of the prototype of what we want to
Okay.
do for Misfit Parade is to make movies like From Dusk Till Dawn. You know what I love about that movie is that it switches genres. You think it's this like really gritty crime movie.
Yeah,
And I remember catching it on
It's
TV
almost
for the first time.
like Tarantino, then
Yeah.
to Rodriguez.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. You can tell where it switches over to
Yeah.
Rodriguez when they're in the strip club and everybody becomes a vampire. And
The Titty Twister.
The Titty Twister. Yeah.
That is such a good gentleman's club name.
Oh, they nailed it. Yeah. Who wouldn't want to go to that?
Yeah.
It's and Harvey Keitel is just like Juliette Lewis. It's an amazing movie. I love that one.
Yeah. George Clooney really came out in that.
Yes, he did. That was when he still had his ER haircut. Yeah.
Yeah, the Caesar.
The Caesar.
I think that's
exactly.
what it was called, the Caesar.
Yeah, you're right.
I get disappointed every time there's a new Exorcist coming out.
Yeah.
It's a little bit, it's not that it's not scary enough. It's always the same.
Well, it's sort of the same problem that a lot of these movies have these days, where they're not thinking about the art of it. And I get it. You don't want to dump millions of dollars into an art film. But there has to be some humanity in it. It can't just be a blatant cash grab, which it feels like the recent Exorcist movies were. And, you're just doing it for the sake of, we have a title that people recognize.
Right. Yep.
And we think we can make some money off of it, so we're going to do it. With that said, I have loved all the Halloween movies. Keep making all those. I know you say it needs a break. I kind of agree. It does need a break because I love it. I don't want to see it like burn out.
I thought the last one sucked.
Halloween Ends. I liked it, but it didn't feel. It wasn't what I wanted. But like The Exorcist, the original Exorcist, like, you kind of have to remember where you came from. That is a masterpiece.
That's kind of hard to top.
Yeah, it's one of the best movies ever. Like, well, they did it with Psycho. Going back to Psycho, they shot for shot remade Psycho.
Yeah.
What a mistake! It was unwatchable. Like, there are certain things that are just untouchable.
The Vince Vaughn Psycho.
Yeah.
Vince Vaughn has moments of, like, to me now he's a comedic actor.
Of course. Yeah.
He's a comedic.
Yeah.
After seeing him in Wedding Crashers, I mean.
One of my favorite movies. But did you see True Detective season 2?
Oh, True Detective season 2 was a way big step down from season 1. I thought.
Artistically, yeah.
And then season 3 was okay. I thought it was marginal.
Yeah. I haven't seen the new season. I heard.
And the new season, I would say it's the second best out of the 4. But what kills me is, so me and my kids, like, again, my parenting, we love serial killer documentaries. Watch it for hours. If it's a lazy Sunday, we've got nothing to do. Ordering pizza,
Oh, yeah.
wings,
That's my childhood.
Serial
you are doing
killers.
parenting right.
wings, pizza, serial killers.
Yeah.
But there's this TV show, Mindhunter,
Love
on
Mindhunter.
Netflix.
Yeah. It's my favorite director is David Fincher.
Season 3, I keep seeing things on Facebook. I got so sick of seeing it. I was like, listen, this is bullshit, because they were like, season 3 has been announced. Bullshit.
Yeah.
I Googled it. It said, it's not coming out.
no.
It's done.
Yeah.
And so,
It was too expensive. That's why they're not doing it.
was?
Yeah.
oh, it was so good. So we're sitting there, I think it's 4th of July, and it's, I'm like, hey, what better to do than at 9 a.m. than crack a beer and scramble some eggs, make some pancakes for my kids, and watch Hamilton on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
He's King George.
Yes. Yes.
And
yes.
he was, and I was like, there's no way this dude could be typecast, because he did such a good job. He was hilarious.
Yeah.
What'd you think? Did you watch it?
Well, I've seen Mindhunter. I've not seen Hamilton. I'm one of probably the only people in the whole country that hasn't seen Hamilton.
I'm not a,
But I know that he's in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. God, I forget his name too. But he's good. He's great in Mindhunter.
yeah. The other actor that plays the detective, the
Yeah.
FBI.
Holt McElhaney.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was in Fight Club. So I do want to bring it back to Vince Vaughn real fast. Is I loved season 2 of True Detective, and I also hated it. And the Vince Vaughn part I kind of hated. And I love him, but he was just not right for that role. He's not a tough guy. He's a funny guy.
Yeah.
Now, Colin Farrell, on the other hand,
That's
in that series, I mean, he was like off the rails.
He played a good
Amazing.
alcoholic.
He was a great alcoholic.
Absent father.
Yeah, yes. And just a psycho. And God, I have a good Colin Farrell story. You're going to have to edit this out. I should
Why?
not tell it on.
Why?
I should not
Do
tell
I
it on
have
the
to tell-
podcast. It's a secondhand story that I heard from someone else, and so I have no direct.
Give a disclaimer.
No, I can't. Okay, I'll tell it off mic. Sorry.
Damn it, you guys just missed out.
Anyway, we were talking about what was the thing after True Detective?
Mindhunter.
Mindhunter. Yeah.
Yeah,
And Fight Club. So
yeah.
I had this question asked to me at the film festival. You know, how do you do the visuals? Like, how do you direct? How do you come up with how you're going to frame a shot, blah, blah, blah. And my answer is I just rip off David Fincher, who directed Seven, Fight Club, The Game, Zodiac, speaking of serial killers.
Yeah.
And he did quite a
Zodiac
bit
was
of,
good.
he did quite a bit of Mindhunter. His new movie, The Killer, on Netflix, I feel like a lot of people haven't seen it. It's amazing. It's so good.
I can't
So
think of that girl's name, the redheaded girl. She played on Big Love, anyways, on HBO. But I like.
I love Big Love. That was a great show.
So I like to do this thing with Savannah. I'm like, what's in the box?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Classic.
yeah.
I remember I had started a new job and we were going around Icebreaker, all the new hires. What's your favorite movie? And I said Seven, and the looks that I got, like, who's this guy that's on the team now? We don't know about him.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just think he's
When you were
genius.
walking up, I said, Ted, how cool would it be if we opened the garage and it was just a bunch of Vis Clean and we were wearing
like American Psycho.
yeah, we were like,
Listening to Huey Lewis in the news. Yeah, I'd be a little freaked out.
I was thinking to myself, you know how many times we've had guests come to Ted's house and we're just sitting in a garage.
That actually is a good setup for a horror movie, right? Like, come do a podcast. Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just got inspired.
We would have to, the door would have to be open and somebody's coming around the back.
Yeah, you have the headphones
We can
on.
see it, but
You can't hear
you
who's
can't.
coming up behind you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. See, this is how this brain works.
See, that's awesome. I'm just impressed that he knows all these writers, all these directors, all these
Oh, that's
producers and
just
stuff.
called nerd shit, Ted.
No,
That's just
man,
straight up nerd shit.
that's like that's like Conrad. He's into all these shows on Netflix and stuff too. It's just
I watch like if it's documentaries, love them. I'll tell you one that I've tried to encourage people to watch. It's not a documentary, but it's pretty close from what I've read online, pretty close to actual events. And it's Blackbird.
Oh, yeah, yeah. That's a local serial killer.
Yes. And
I remember, I have a story connected to that.
Okay.
But go ahead.
So I've told Ted several times, I'm like, hey, man, I found her parents. Should we?
Trisha Rittler's parents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Trisha Reitler's.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm kind of interested to know, like, now that life it's been a long time, like, would you like to share your story? They didn't paint Marion's police department very well.
No, they did not. I think at that time, my dad was on the Gas City Police Department. Yeah, I would need to pick his brain about that. My story, just from my personal perspective, is my dad and we went to go see a movie at the North Park Mall, and it was called Fire in the Sky. Have you ever seen this movie?
Yes.
1993. It's an alien abduction movie, and there's
guys in the woods.
Yeah, they're in the woods. They're like lumberjacks, and one guy gets. And the marketing was it's based on a true story, and this guy's account is that he was abducted by aliens, and they have this like really horrific alien abduction hostage scene, more or less. Totally creeped me out when I was a kid. Anyway, the way it connects to this story is we come out of the theater, and it was the last showing. The mall is closed. There's only a security guard, and the entire mall is plastered with Trisha Reitler's missing poster.
Wow, they got it out that quick.
Yeah. And just having seen a movie as I think I was probably like 7 or something like that, and a person being abducted, and then you go and not having any knowledge of this event, and you come out and there are all these missing posters in an empty mall, totally freaked me out. So her story always stuck with me. I mean, as a young person, and I know it was a huge deal.
Yeah, there
at
was
the time.
so many things that went on. So some of the stuff that wasn't in the show, I really wish was in the show, because there was a man who had abducted a little girl from Hartford City, and I know this sounds like it's right out of Fugitive. He was a one-armed man.
Yeah.
He had one arm, and she escaped from his van. He had done some pretty atrocious things to her. But that man was the manager of Hill's department store.
Really?
And before that happened, my niece, Hill's used to have like that little concession stand.
Yeah, I would get the popcorn every time I
The
went.
popcorn, ices.
Yes. Right.
And we're walking in. Well, here he comes, and he stops. He said, "She is such a beautiful little girl." And, me and my, skin crawled.
Yeah.
And he just, looked at us for a second and then walked away, and I kind of looked at my sister like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And
Ugh.
when that happened, we were like, oh, my God, remember what? Remember?
Yeah.
Because I remember they dug his yard up looking for Trisha.
Really?
Yes, they did.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I think he lived out by Holbrook's almost.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty clever of a serial killer to the guy from Wabash to go and confess and make it look like you're doing fake confessions.
Right.
And they wrote him off.
Right.
Like he's done this before, and they checked, and they kind of he likes to tell stories. And
that's what is maddening about it. No one knows what the truth is still.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. He was like a genius, that guy.
Mm-hmm.
and that's scary.
Yeah, it's very scary.
And I almost wonder how much of his upbringing, I think he's still alive in prison.
Yeah.
But how much of his upbringing, Teddy, he was raised on a cemetery ground. Right? His dad was an undertaker.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
In Wabash.
I know that we had talked about doing a story about that when the show Blackbird was popular, and someone had a connection to his brother, and we were trying to make that work where we did the story through his brother, who is also depicted in the show.
Yeah.
And still kind of, I think, maintains his innocence, but who knows,
It's just all too suspect. He was a guy that went to all the reenactments of early American wars,
Right.
battles, and somebody would disappear from around there. It's creepy.
It's very creepy. The guy who played it did an amazing job.
He
Nailed
played
that.
Yeah, he
role.
played in Clint Eastwood's.
The Richard Jewell movie.
Yeah. He did a good
Yeah.
job on that.
He's
too.
good. He's a
Yeah.
really good actor.
But yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. He did it. He nailed that.
So, Conrad, if you're into serial killers, what's your feeling about The Son of Sam? David Berkowitz. Did you see the Netflix series, The Sons of Sam?
Yeah. There's a part of me, like, mental health is very complex.
Yeah.
But I felt like he just wanted to murder people under the disguise of mental health.
Yeah.
And so that's just my feeling. Like, I know some people that have really hardcore mental health issues.
Yeah.
And to say, hey, man, this dog was telling me to kill people. Or,
Yeah, I think that was just kind of a cover. It was the 70s for one. He was probably on drugs. But that Netflix documentary series, The Sons of Sam, goes into a lot of interesting stuff. So I did a documentary when I was at Channel 11 in New York. They had an amazing archive of stuff going back to the 60s of just really well preserved tape. And actually at the time it was not even tape, it was on a spool of film. And so we had restored a bunch of stuff from 77 and all the coverage of The Son of Sam. And so I'm like, well, it's just sitting here. I'm going to do a documentary on it. So the anniversary of his arrest had come up. And I did an 40th anniversary thing on Son of Sam. But the producer who ended up doing that Netflix series I ended up working a bit with him to help, organize that footage for his thing. And what was really funny, and people in New York, it's not any different than anywhere else. I mean, we're talking about a case that's like 30 years old, and we remember all these details, right? Well, people in New York that went through the whole Son of Sam thing, they remember specific details that don't get reported, just like the story you were telling. And one thing after I put my documentary out there, it was more about from the perspective of the city, just kind of like the fear of not knowing who this killer was. It wasn't really necessarily about what actually happened. It was more about the atmosphere at the time that the Son of Sam kind of like created. But I got so much feedback from people in New York about like, oh, you missed this detail, you missed that detail, you missed that. And what's funny is this Sons of Sam documentary that's on Netflix, if you check it out, went into all that stuff that people were talking about. So there's the basic kind of understanding is David Berkowitz acted alone. Maybe he was talking to a dog told him to do it. But the theory by a lot of people that are local think he was involved in a cult, and that he wasn't the only one who committed these murders. And he was just basically trying to get into the cult. in order to prove his worth. And that Netflix series goes into it really well. So, yeah, it's so funny that you bring up your story from Hills, because
Right.
there are all these little details about these stories that just kind of get washed out and never reported, but the community knows pretty much what the real story is. It's fascinating.
I would be so curious, like, so my middle daughter was so wrapped up because she likes Evan Peters so much, like Evan,
Yeah.
you know,
Dahmer. Yeah.
the Dahmer series on Netflix. She was like, "No, Evan Peters, no." Like,
He was
she's-
great in that.
She loved American Horror Story.
Yeah.
You know, she's like, "He's so hot," and I'm like, "This guy."
Dahmer?
Yeah, but
Dahmer was very disturbing.
that was so. Some of the serial killer stuff that I watch, I'm like, before they even go into it, I'm like, okay, so he either had an abusive or absent something.
Yeah.
Something abusive or absent starts with an A,
Yeah.
has happened to this kid, and nobody noticed that he was burying cats alive.
Right. Right.
Or, like, you know, dissecting dead pigs in a shed and masturbating to it. And
right.
everybody overlooked that part.
Right.
That is not normal. So if you see your kid doing something like
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
it's time to have a talk.
Exactly.
But anyways, so like Ed Kemper, so in that first season of Mindhunter, when they talk about some of the stuff, like if you watch the Amazon Prime, you got to pay for the documentary, but this guy is like out there,
But
Like-
a brilliant
a
person.
genius.
Yeah.
Ted Bundy.
Oh yeah. He was a lethal combination because
Yeah.
he presented as totally normal.
Yeah.
I mean, he was like a law student.
Yep.
And attractive, and seemed to lead a normal life, and had like this whole other thing going on. It's disturbing.
So nowadays, I would love to like have somebody that I could call in the FBI and be like, "Hey, realistically, how many active serial killers are there?"
I have
In
heard there
America.
are more than ever now.
Well, how?
How exactly?
23 and me.
I watched Dateline. There are cameras everywhere, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, you would think that the 70s was the heyday, but apparently there are more than ever. It's mind blowing, but
Well, it's just recently that guy in Long Island.
yeah.
I did a lot of promos and stories about that.
I was gonna ask
The
you about that.
Yeah, Long Island serial killer. One of our reporters at Channel 11, Mary Murphy, she was on that story for a long time. She knows a lot about it. The Gilgo Beach thing with the call girls. That's a wild one. And I don't know. Yeah, the guy that they pegged for it after years
Right.
was an affluent community member.
An architect.
Yeah, an architect, a wealthy guy.
There was a guy in Indianapolis.
Herb Bauermeister.
They're still digging up bones.
Yeah.
the
yes.
thrift store guy.
Yeah.
Isn't that okay? Now, there's property down there where the Indy 11 was going to go, right? And they're digging up.
They are actually. I might be telling tales out of school. I might not know what I'm talking about here, but yes, they did. They said that there might be up to like 600 bones or like thing, but I don't know. That's not from.
That's not a serial
That's not a
killer,
serial
but
killer.
something.
It was like a burial ground or
Right.
something from a long time ago. But they're still finding bones on the Bauermeister property. They
Yeah.
just identified one of his victims from that just recently. Yeah, that's a crazy story too.
And that's the guy that just kind of left his family, right? And just.
He was, from what I understand, I think he and his wife ended up separated. But he was going out to the gay clubs.
The gay clubs, yep.
In Indianapolis and bring guys back, and he would basically take them to his pool and drug them or,
Yep.
subdue them somehow and kill them. Probably the most prolific serial killer in this area besides H.H. Holmes.
Yeah.
So
Back in the day,
Back in the day.
H.H. Holmes, man, he was trying to compete with Jack the Ripper. And stuff.
yeah. Quite a proud history we have here in Indiana.
Yeah.
Serial killers.
It's wild. So I'm like wondering, like, how do you have to evolve? Because you can't leave saliva, hair, skin, nail, blood.
Yeah.
Like there's no way. Like there cannot be another serial killer ever.
You would think, but you're still talking about human faulty.
Mm-hmm.
Like cops miss things. Mm-hmm. It looks all kind of like buttoned up on the stories you see on Dateline, but that's just anecdotal. Like that's just a sliver of the cases. Those are the ones that get solved. Most of the ones that don't get solved, you're probably assuming that something else happened, and you're not looking for the right things, and before you know it, you've contaminated the crime scene.
The crime scene, yep.
And it's not to disparage the police. So they do their best, and oftentimes they do a great job. But
So it's
there's a
like-
lot that can slip through the cracks.
It's like Conrad Herrera when I walk out to my car and I realize I don't have my car keys, and then I go look for them and I can't find them, and then Deanna says they're on the coffee table right in front of your face.
Yeah, exactly.
'Cause you're
right there,
too
the evidence
close.
was right there the whole
Yeah,
time.
you're too close to it, and you're looking so hard.
Yeah.
You don't see it.
Since we're talking about serial killers, I have to make one more plug. I know I'm like a plug machine.
Plug it away.
There is an amazing movie that's you can't see yet. I saw it at the Crimson Screen Horror Film Festival where I won that award. But it was made in Indiana from a filmmaker named Jason Zink, and he made this in Lafayette. It is one of the best horror films I've ever seen, and that's not hyperbole. Like, it is a masterpiece. It's found footage style. The way he did this was this GoPro right here, probably the exact same model. He put the GoPro on like a little apparatus on his chest and designed this movie where it was from the perspective of a serial killer. Yeah. And it is so amazingly well done and creepy. And we're hoping to premiere it in Indianapolis sometime later this year. I saw it. The crowd was just like, it's one of those things where no one moved, no one breathed. It was just kind of like, felt so real and so disturbing. It's not one of these things where you're watching a horror movie and the big violin sting happens and you're being cued to be scared.
Something's coming, yeah.
Yeah, no, this was from the perspective of a stalker escalating. And you mentioned Ed Kemper. It's basically like, I think one review said as if Ed Kemper had a GoPro camera.
Wow.
And that's even selling it short. I mean, he just did such an amazing job of telling his story. I think a lot of people that might see it would miss the point that it's we just kind of put a GoPro on and pretended like, things were happening. No, it is like designed as if any other Hollywood production story would be designed. It is like so well thought out. And I cannot wait for people to see this movie eventually. Hopefully they will. It's so under the radar. He made it for $4,000, but it is as good of in my opinion, as good of a horror film as you're going to see. And it's all done with a GoPro.
How do we get invited to this premiere?
Well, give me time. We're working on that theater venue. Like, this is a whole learning experience.
Man.
So it's expensive to rent a movie theater.
Well,
I'll tell you what.
that's what I was going to ask. Okay,
Can we get that one that has the food and the beer?
Yeah, we're looking at those. Yeah.
So you say he did this for $4,000. Okay, so
Yeah.
You go out and you make a short film.
Yeah.
Do you have to sell it?
So the short film and our approach to it is, it's something like what you would call a loss leader, where we're really the whole point of it is to practice,
Okay.
to get better. So we're not profiting whatsoever off of any short film that we make. It's not really a product. You can't sell a short film. Like, not a lot of people, there's not a market for, an 8-minute movie. I'm going to pay you money to see an 8-minute movie. I can see a ton of these on YouTube.
Right.
But the idea is to eventually make a feature. Now, this guy made a feature film.
Okay.
It's an hour and 20 minutes.
Okay.
And that you can sell. That you can sell tickets to. You can put it in theaters. You can get people to pay to come. You can eventually put it on digital, rent it, get a streaming deal. A place like probably not Netflix because they make a lot of their own stuff, but some of these other streamers like a Shudder, which is very horror specific, could license a movie like this. That's a deal. I am. I won't go on this sort of tangent because this is like a super nerd thing, and no one cares. But it's very interesting how the economics of filmmaking works these days. So yeah, I'm trying to help him get people to see this movie because it's so under the radar, and it's just one of those where it's just kind of like, I can't not believe this isn't going to be the biggest deal ever. It's
I
so
would
good.
love if he would send some B-roll clips that I could add to the podcast.
We might,
teasers.
you guys, if you wanted to do a review, we might be able to get a screen for you.
You could do that.
Oh, we will do it. Hey, listen. So, some of the guys that we invited to do this review are people that they're honest, they're good people, but they also have no filter.
Oh, that's the best.
And so we would line some guys up and possibly some ladies.
You know what? This movie, and I should say the title, it's called Looky Loo.
Okay.
And whoever's listening to this right now, you probably won't hear about this movie for a while. But I am confident it will break through. And it's called Looky Loo because it's from the perspective of a stalker.
Yeah.
And this is the perfect horror film for women because it's every woman's worst nightmare.
Oh,
Being watched, voyeur.
Being watched, and who can get into my house without me knowing it? The things that, what I love about this movie is you see from the killer's perspective what he's figuring out and learning as he goes up to people's doors, looks under the doormat. Is there a key there? Where are people hiding their keys? He goes and makes copies of keys, comes back later, like scopes it out when people aren't there.
He's a valet.
He's kind of like a valet, yeah. Yeah, so it's just so ingenious because you see it from this killer's perspective and you're thinking now starting to think the way that he's thinking, and he goes in and scouts out the whole space, and you don't realize it at the time when you're seeing him go into this room and that room that he's planning how he's going to do his murder, and then when it happens you see it all again.
Yeah.
And then you realize, oh, that's why I saw all that. It's just so well designed and so smart.
That would be
creepy.
awesome.
My girlfriend watched it. She does not do horror movies, but that one for her, she was like, this is my worst fear.
I could put together a really good focus group, but I'll tell you what, when I was now thinking about it, when I was younger, they used to do the little clips, cutaways to answer your question. Like you couldn't say, "Hey, call 911," because you've seen the killer cut the phone line. So now you're just like, scream. Oh, she can't scream.
Yeah.
He's duct taped her mouth.
Yeah.
So now everybody, I don't know too many people with a landline.
Right.
So what's next?
Well, the cell phone is the worst invention for the horror filmmaker, right? It's like, how do you deal with that? Like so many movies just become like a non-issue.
Yeah.
Because you have a cell phone.
Yeah.
So you have to come up with a way to dispense of the cell phone. Oh, we're in a remote area.
Yeah.
You know, there's no signal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting no signal
Or
here.
they drop the phone in the garbage disposal, you know.
The minute they're out in the woods, I'm like, oh, they're fucked.
service.
They're fucked, man.
Oh, yeah, no service.
Or, you know, battery's dying.
I forgot to charge my phone.
All of a sudden, I'm on 10%.
Yeah.
I did an
it's such a burden.
update last night. And
It's the hardest thing as a horror film writer. Yeah. Oh, but they could just use their phone.
Heath, thank you so much for coming on. And this has been really interesting. I've had fun, Teddy.
Yes, this has been great, and let everybody know where they can go watch your films
Yeah.
at. Heath.
Oh, okay. One more plug. Why not? Go to misfitparade.net and check out some of our movies. They're pretty short. I think you might have fun with a few of them. And if anybody's out there that's like wants to do this, and I mean this really from the bottom of my heart, like growing up in a small town, doing rat TV, not knowing anybody else that did this sort of thing. If you're out there listening, or you know someone that's into this sort of thing, that wants to do movies, have them contact me. My email is hdh, as in Heath, my name, HD as in dog, Benfield, Benfield, @gmail.com. Send me an email. Maybe I can get you on one of our sets. We're shooting stuff all the time. Or if you just have questions, let me know. I'd love to talk shop.
So maybe even an actor or actress.
Yeah. Ted, I mean, we got to get you in as like the next Jason Voorhees with all that iron you're pumping, man.
Dude.
You're gonna wreck some teenagers.